This random piece of iron ore was the first big step in making Luxembourg the wealthiest country in the world. They upgraded from a little to a lot of steel, joining a major European steel group. Now, they're rolling in cash with banks and tax perks that amaze big names. They're even dabbling in space and eco-finance. It's a tale of a tiny spot's giant jump to wealth and fame. Let's see how it all started. The economic development of Luxembourg started in the 1800s with the discovery of iron ore. In the 1840s, they found a particular kind of iron ore called minette, which was vital in starting Luxembourg's steel industry. At first, Luxembourg made only a small amount of steel, but by the early 20th century, the production had grown a lot. In 1900, they made 313 tons of steel, and by 1913, this number had risen to 1,115 tons. This increase was due to new steel-making techniques from England and the high demand for steel during the Industrial Revolution, like for building railways. One important event was the creation of a steel company called Arbed in 1911, which became a key player in steel production. The early success of the steel industry in Luxembourg also came from the hard work of German workers who arrived in the 1870s, and later workers from Italy and Portugal. But relying too much on German workers and machinery became a problem, especially during the two world wars. After the First World War, Luxembourg had to find new markets for its steel, like in South America and Asia. During the Second World War, Germany took control of Luxembourg's steel production. But after the war, the industry did really well during a period called Les 30 Glorieuses, the Glorious 30, which helped improve living standards in Luxembourg. The steel industry got another boost in 1953 with the establishment of the European Coal and Steel Community, led by France's Foreign Minister Robert Schuman. This helped Luxembourg export steel to France and Germany and use their raw materials. Today, Luxembourg is known for its strong financial sector, not just its industrial past. This change started in 1999 when Luxembourg joined the Eurozone. The success of the financial sector comes from many things: the country's stable politics, skilled workers who can speak many languages, and a history of keeping bank information private. This made Luxembourg a popular place for international banking and managing funds. Luxembourg's financial world is really successful, ranking super high both globally and in Europe. It keeps changing with the times, adjusting to what's happening in the world economy and new rules, which helps it stay a top financial center. One big thing about Luxembourg is that it's a great place for companies to set up shop, and it's always coming up with new ideas to grow its economy in different ways. The way Luxembourg handles taxes is super attractive for big companies and really rich people. They've got all sorts of perks and benefits to offer. For example, companies that make less than $175,000 pay only 15% tax. If they make between $175,000 and $200,000, they pay a bit more, $26,000 plus 31% on anything over $175,000. And if they make over $200,000, the tax is a flat 17%. So, in Luxembourg City, the total tax rate comes to about 24.94% when you add other taxes, like the solidarity surtax and city business tax. There are cool tax credits too. Companies get a 13% credit on the money they spend on stuff like machines, and a 2% to 8% credit on new investments. Companies doing research and development, R&D, get help too, like loans, cash grants, or help with interest. This support covers different types of research, from basic to industrial. Certain types of investment funds and companies that manage rich people's money don't have to pay some taxes, which makes Luxembourg even more appealing. Thanks to these tax rules, Big names like Google, Amazon, and Ferrero have chosen Luxembourg as their European base. So, during World War II, Luxembourg was minding its own business, trying to stay neutral, but Germany wasn't having any of it and invaded. This was a big deal because Luxembourg was forced to deal with the Germans taking over. After World War II, Europe was pretty much in ruins. A crazy number of people, like 60 million, had died and cities were destroyed. Everyone was pretty much fed up with fighting and said, "Never again." They figured that instead of competing and fighting, European countries should work together to keep the peace. This idea kicked off a whole new way of doing things in Europe, with countries teaming up instead of going at it alone. Then came a really big moment. Luxembourg joined this new club called the European Coal and Steel Community, ECSC, in 1951. This was a big deal because it meant countries like Luxembourg were saying, "Okay, we'll let this bigger European group have a say in our coal and steel businesses." Since Luxembourg was really into coal and steel, this was a big step, showing they were serious about this whole working together in Europe thing. Luxembourg didn't stop there. They also joined some military groups like the Brussels Treaty and NATO. This meant they were now part of the team that looked after security in Europe. As time went on, Luxembourg kept up its role in getting Europe to work as one team. They helped start the common market and were there signing the Rome treaties. These treaties were all about countries in Europe doing business together and even starting a community for atomic energy stuff. Sure, Luxembourg had to figure out how to deal with new challenges, like people moving around freely for work and changes in how business was done. But they managed to look out for their own interests while still being part of the team. Deciding where to put European institutions was a big deal, but Luxembourg ended up being a key location. In 1952, Luxembourg City was chosen as the provisional spot for several ECSC institutions. This was a huge win for Luxembourg. Over time, the arrangement changed a bit, but Luxembourg kept important European judicial and financial institutions. Luxembourg's part in the EU has changed over time. It's managed to keep its own identity while also being committed to working with Europe. It's been in charge of the Council of the European Union several times and has been involved in major EU projects, like the Single European Act, the Treaty of Maastricht, and expanding the EU. Smash that like button and hit subscribe for more cool stories. Do you recommend going tax-free is the secret key to success? Or should there be more control? What's your take? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get the conversation rolling.